In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, well, the king has left New York and he is on his way to D.C. and Virginia. He's going to be meeting with President Trump again because he had such a good time with President Trump. Who doesn't have a good time with President Trump? He clearly is on the move. And when you look at everything that's going on in the world, it's no doubt that even though the king, when he was supposed to come here, he wasn't supposed to talk politics. He was supposed to just generically talk about a variety of things, sort of stay out of politics. That's typically the role of the royals. But today, President Trump in the White House revealed that they did get into Iran a little bit. Take a listen.
Mr. President, the King's speech that he made to Congress, he spoke strongly, forcefully about the necessity for a strong NATO alliance. He also spoke about the necessity to continue to support Ukraine. Did his speech in any way change your thinking on either of those issues?
Well, you have to understand my thinking is, I think, exactly correct, but I was very disappointed with the fact that when we called on them to give us a little hand, we didn't need it. I actually did it just to see whether or not they'd be there. When we called on NATO to give us a hand with Ukraine and in particular the most recent, we asked them to do certain things on Ukraine, and we also wanted them to do things with Iran. And on Ukraine, they're very much involved, but they didn't do things the way we would like to see it. It's been going on for a long time. And on Iran, they weren't there, as you know. You know it better than anybody. They weren't there. The king is fantastic. We spent a lot of time together. We had a lot of talk. We talked about this also. And he loves his country, and he's a great king, and he's a great friend of mine. And I think if he were doing that, if that were up to him, he would have probably helped us with Iran. He would have followed the suggestions we made with respect to Ukraine, because, we have some disagreements on Ukraine. And not having to do with NATO so much as European countries. But no, he's coming back tomorrow. We had an incredible evening last night, and he's leaving tomorrow. He's going to come back and see us before he leaves, But no, I think he's a phenomenal representative for his country. I think the people in the United Kingdom should be proud. I loved his speech yesterday. I watched it. I loved the speech last night. I don't know about my speech. I thought my speech was okay too, but I thought I think he's an unbelievable king. And by the way, an unbelievable queen. They are a great couple.
Very interesting. They definitely got along. And it seems like the Democrats also love the king. I thought they don't like kings. I thought they are big supporters of the No Kings rally. I think they forgot about that for a while. Well, tonight, there's some really scary news, guys, here on the Rita Cosby Show coming out of London. A Jewish men, 2 of them were stabbed in an unprovoked attack in London. Some guy with a history of violence and mental illness who was just randomly out on the streets. That's a whole other question. Do they have somebody like New York's or LA's DAs? I guess so. London is losing it. There's no doubt about it. But a guy with mental history who happened to be out and roaming the streets just randomly stabbed 2 Jewish people on the streets. And this is in an area, a pretty heavily predominant Jewish area, where just recently ambulances were set on fire. And in London, they are deeming it a terror attack. The individual has been arrested, thank goodness, charged with attempted murder And when the cops were trying to take the guy down in London, they didn't have the guns there. So they had only tasers. Luckily, there were enough of them and they were able to take the guy down. But they had like 3 or 4 cops with tasers trying to take the guy down who had just stabbed 2 people very seriously in, again, an unprovoked, what is being deemed a terror attack in London by a guy with violent history who never obviously should have been out on the streets. Meantime, Mayor Zohran Mamdani met with also King Charles, and he met with them at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. Now, there was just a very brief encounter today when they met in the receiving line. And in fact, I didn't even know if it was Mamdani at first. I had to look to go. I was watching all the festivities because our great owner and operator of Red Apple Media, John Katsimatidis, had a front row location and had a chance to talk to the king. We're going to play that later on in the show because he had a great conversation with King Charles. And Mamdani barely got any time with King Charles. It was like a boop. It was like a little whisper. I was wondering to see, would King Charles, would Mamdani talk? It was interesting because Mayor Mike Bloomberg, the former mayor, he was really the host who was sort of shepherding the king around and the queen at the 9/11 memorial site. You barely saw Mamdani at all. He was like thrown in the pack with a whole bunch of other people, just sort of randomly. I think he only had a few seconds talking to the king. And before he even met with the king, I couldn't believe this. What is up with this guy? Before he even met with the king, he does a press conference and they said, oh, well, what would you say to the king if you had a chance? And he said, I would talk with him about returning this diamond that is on the queen's crown that he believes represents British conquest, British colonialism. Now, Mamdani is from Uganda and both of his parents are from India. And this is a guy, he's dealing with a massive budget gap in the city's budget. There are a lot of problems out there going on in the world. And yet his first thing is a diamond that he says should be returned to India, where his parents are from, as opposed to talking to the king about anything else. That's the first. What would you ask the king? You would ask him about a diamond from years upon years ago that, by the way, Pakistan and Iran are also laying claim to this diamond. And the diamond was handed over in a peace deal, sort of this process of war. So, but that's the question that Zohran Mamdani said that he would ask the king. No wonder their meeting was like 5 seconds when they finally did meet face to face, because it was soon after he made that crazy comment, which totally came out of left field, but it shows what's on Mamdani's mind. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And I'm sorry, guys, I am still so uncomfortable with the fact that Zohran Mamdani is palling around with Hassan Piker, the guy who said that America deserved 9/11. And it would have been very awkward, I think, to see the current mayor, which you typically always do. You see the current mayor guiding usually a dignitary who comes to their city. So I'm glad it was Mayor Mike Bloomberg who was spending time with them today versus Mayor Mamdani. It was just so, it would have been so awkward. All I could see is Hassan Piker and also Mahmoud Khalil, who's been bashing Israel and pro-Hamas with his views on these college campus protests, and a number of others out there, and the comments from his wife liking and saying it was okay about the rapes that happened against the Israelis. I mean, there are just so many things that you sit there and think, and this guy would be the one dealing with the king. What's your reaction to that he wastes his time sitting there talking about this diamond and won't even talk about, I would just tell him how wonderful it is to have him here in the city. My question would be what a wonderful person he is and what we could do to increase relationships. No, he wants to talk about ripping a diamond off the Queen's crown in London. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And meantime, of course, a lot of talk about Iran. There is a report tonight that CENTCOM is preparing a plan for a short and powerful wave of strikes against Iran. There is so much going on with the war. And today, boy, was there a heated back and forth at one of the hearings on Capitol Hill. Listen to Democrat John Garamendi, congressman there on the Hill, and he was just blasting Pete Hegseth. Listen to this.
Secretary Hegseth, you have been lying to the American public about this war from day one, and so has the president. You have misled the public about why we are at war. You and the president have offered ever-changing reasons for this war. You've misled the public about the progress of the war. While the military has executed this war with tactical success, the strategy has been an astounding incompetence, doing immense economic damage to America.
Mr. Chairman,
and the
Mr.
world.
Chairman, with the personal attack on the secretary, he should have an opportunity to respond.
He certainly
Thank
will.
you.
When
No, at the time you're doing it.
It's the gentleman's time. He can use it as he sees fit and add an extra 5 seconds to Mr. Garamendi's time.
Thank you. You and the president offer ever-changing reasons for the war. You have misled the public about the progress of the war. While the military has executed this war with tactical success, the strategy has been an outstanding example of incompetence. This war of choice is a political and economic disaster at every level. Despite the president's promise to lower the cost of living, gas prices are up 40% and inflation is soaring so much for lowering the cost of living. The president has got himself and America stuck in a quagmire of another war in the Middle East. He's desperately trying to extricate himself from his own mistakes. It is in America's and indeed the world's interest that he succeed in that. I yield back.
What a horrible comment, you guys. A quagmire. Let's see. They've only been in this fight. What is it? Less than 2 months, right? And yet it's a quagmire. That's the word obviously used, referred to Vietnam. Some would refer to that obviously with Afghanistan and other wars. And yet, are you kidding me? It's only been 2 months. And so Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, went ballistic. Listen to his response to John Garamendi and his allegation of the president and all of you have led us into a, quote, quagmire.
I didn't get a chance. I didn't see a question in the statement from the congressman. I hope you appreciate how reckless it is. When I said reckless, feckless, and defeatist of congressional Democrats at the beginning, that came after watching you say the same thing on CNN this morning, a quagmire. My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan, years and years of nebulous missions and utopian nation building that led us to nothing. What we have right now, the way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies. Shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. That's a false equivalation. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for? Our troops are doing incredible work. They've done incredible things for the entirety of this mission and achieved incredible battlefield successes. And you sit there and go on TV for your clickbait about quagmires. It undermines the mission. Your hatred for President Trump blinds you to the truth of the success of this mission and the historic stakes that the president is addressing, which the American people support. Iran's been at war with us for 47 years. You want to talk about a forever war? For 2 months, this president has stared them down. He's going to get a better deal than anyone ever has and ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. I know the American people support that mission, despite your loose talk and words like quagmire.
Love that he threw it right back at him. You know, it's interesting. The Democrats didn't care about funding when it was Russia, Ukraine. They were never worried about the price tab then. And now it's like, oh, where is this leading into 2 months? You can see them already painting the scene that, oh, President Trump is bringing up gas prices. Well, guess what? Biden had $4 gas and there wasn't a war in the Middle East. So why is the White House not bringing that up more? They should, because that says it all. Now you got a situation with a massive war in the Middle East? In other words, to get rid of Iran, we're squeezing them, we're decimating them. And the best the Democrats can do is come up and say, this is just horrible. This is just distasteful. This is just terrible. How could you lead us into a war? This is a quagmire. I mean, to me, that is such an unfair allegation. If it was years upon years, that's a different battle. But it's only 2 months. 2 months. And again, what does Zohran Mamdani do today? He talks about a stolen diamond that he says from India. That's his priority, not the New York City budget, not the NYPD. We'll talk about all of this when we come back. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Adobe Acrobat, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that, do that, do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And Matt Blaze and I love this song. It's always fun. It brings back memories. And let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Tom in New York on line 2. Go ahead, Tom. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good. What do you think, Tom?
Good. I agree with everything you're saying about what's going on in the city. I just have a different question, if it's okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm a 100% Trump fan. I voted for him all 3 times that he should have won. But I think a lot of people have a problem with that when the gas prices are going up. And people are saying, well, if we're energy independent, how come our gas prices are going up also if we have our own energy?
Well, because the world is interconnected. You understand that. And other folks are trying to fill the gap. They're also not getting their supplies. So some of them are getting it from us. I mean, and also transportation. I mean, you understand why it affects everything that we buy, interconnected, and the prices are going up. So some of it could be a little bit of a game also, where individuals, when they see it's up elsewhere, it impacts us. But I also believe it's going to come down quick, don't you, once this is resolved? Yep, I agree. I heard you say 100%. I agree. I say 110% on that one, Tom.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Peoria, Arizona, where a dramatic overnight rescue by police highlights how technology is changing police responses, helping officers find a missing endangered woman in a place that likely never would have been seen from the ground. Just before 10 o'clock, police Air One launched an urgent search for a missing woman with dementia who took her family's SUV and suddenly went missing. They searched the desert and eventually located the SUV. The department says if it was not for the technology available to them, this recovery could have been something much more serious many, many days later. They said that vehicle helped them so much in terms of location. They used the Apple AirTag, and also the Real-Time Crime Center confirmed to officers that the woman had not left the area. They were able to track her that way. And then they narrowed the search to a remote stretch of desert and were able to zoom in and locate her and bring her back to her family. Incredibly, no injuries and luckily safe and sound. Well, let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn on line 3. Norm, your thoughts tonight?
My thoughts tonight. Okay. I looked up in my Guinness Book of World Records the largest diamonds, and well, yes, the British, they got some big ones. The one in the scepter of the British crown is 530 carats. It's known as the Star of Africa. Is that the one he wants returned?
No, he wants this one is the Koh-i-Noor, and it's 100.
The Koh-i-Noor.
It's only 105 carats compared to the 500 carat one. It's called a cheapie compared to the other one, right?
I think that one came off the same giant diamond that was cleaved. This is the one that's was in Elizabeth's crown.
Yes,
actually, it was probably Victoria's crown.
Yes, and do me a favor, Norm, before you go further, I want to play the clip for everybody, because of all things, here is the king. He's in New York, and reporters say, hey, to Mamdani, if you get a chance to see him, what are you going to ask him? And you thought, there'd be some profound statement. And then he starts going to this, this diamond in the crown, talking about colonialism. I mean, will this guy get off his, this mantra? I mean, this is just unbelievable. Here it is. Here's Mamdani before he met the king.
Do you have a specific message you might want to deliver?
I'll be saying that today I'll be attending a wreath laying alongside a number of other elected officials, including Governor Hochul, Governor Sherrill, and the focus of that wreath laying is to honor the more than 3,000 New Yorkers who were killed in the horrific terror attacks of September 11th. And that's what I'm really looking to do at that event.
So you haven't thought about anything you might say if you say hello to him and he stops to chat?
If I was to speak to the king separately from that, I would probably encourage him to return the Koh-i-Noor diamond.
Okay.
What a weird thing. And Norm, every time I think of Mamdani at 9/11, I think of his friend Hassan Piker. Listen to this.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it. We totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy we did. We did.
And here it is, the 25th anniversary, and there will be, of course, big commemorations honoring those who died and lost so much on 9/11. The 25th anniversary coming up in September, obviously. But today, just to see him, even there briefly, it was, I don't know, a lot of people felt very uncomfortable. And then he brings up the diamond right before, Norm. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's been in the damn scepter and in the crown since Victoria. I mean, since early 1900s.
Oh, Norm, Mamdani wants it back.
And Mamdani, well, good luck with that. This is what he wastes. This is what he wastes his time with to talk about. This has got to be coming from his father. This is some kind of thing his father was talking about in those anti-American, anti-colonial classes he was teaching. This is something that young Zohran was lectured to when he was a kid, for him to pull this out of his butt. I mean, this is just, this is what our mayor wants to talk about, returning the crown jewels. Good luck with that, sir. I say
it is good luck with that. I agree with you, because it is such a bizarre, like you said, an offshoot question. His parents, by the way, are from India. He's, of course, from Uganda, and you're right. It must have been something that Hey, Zohran, can you pass the cereal? And by the way, let's talk about the Koh-i-Noor diamond for a couple hours. Right. I mean, why else would you ever? I mean, it was the most bizarre thing I'd ever heard.
Right. Most of these diamonds were. If you go to the Smithsonian, they have a large diamond collection. I remember reading the things. They all came from Maharajas and stuff. So a lot of this, whatever, stealing, borrowing, whatever of these diamonds started with the kings in India. And, the British crown just kind of continued that along. So I don't know. It's just what a trifling thing. It's just
yeah, what a waste of time. Here's that moment. Yeah. You've got the king coming here. It's the first time the king that he's come as king to the States, and it's the first time that he's come back to New York. I think it's in like 20 years. And this is this beautiful moment for the city. He's the mayor, and all he can think about is British colonialism. I mean, it's like everything is like somebody else's fault. He can't even say, "Oh, I'm so happy he's here, and what a beautiful gift it is that you're here, and how could we do a sister city relationship or build relations or do whatever it is, bring business." I mean, he is driving out business. You got Ken Griffin, who's thinking about pulling a $6 billion with a B dollar project out of New York because Zohran Mamdani was making fun of him the other day and harassing him in front of his building. On that video where he wanted to tax those second homes. And now, and there's so many issues with the budget and problems in New York. And he's worried about a diamond from who knows how long ago that's on the Queen's crown, as if Charles is going to like snatch it off his mother's crown,
Right. I'm not sure I'm not sure that they own them. I'm not sure that the royal family actually, because they're kind of like sitting there in whatever
they're probably on display, right? They're probably right. They probably belong to, I would imagine, to the country, and in fact,
England.
And in fact, I'm sure it is because I was reading about this diamond because I had never heard of it before. And it was given as sort of like part of a peace sort of process. It wasn't even like maybe there are cases where, there have been items through the years that have been stolen. I mean, you look at the Nazis stealing art and things like that through the years. But in this particular one, it was sort of part of a peace deal years ago. So it was almost like, okay, we're going to give you this and you're going to do that. I mean, but yet little Zohran couldn't wait to talk about that. I mean, what does that say about him, Norm?
It says that his priorities are, it says to me that he's kissing the butt of the hard left. He's kissing the butt about, oh, great, he's going after that colonialism. He's going after imperialism. Oh, great, Zohran, we love him. I mean, listen, these people are not living in the real world, so whatever.
Yeah,
they're not living, and they don't care about whether the garbage is picked up. They don't care about crime. They don't care about that. They care about fighting imperialism and colonialism. Good luck. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. I agree, Norm. Yeah. Thanks so much, Norm. Always great to hear from you. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey on line 1. Sandra, your thoughts.
Good evening, Rita. I have a different feeling about this. I was so happy when I heard
about the diamond, about the Koh-i-Noor diamond.
No. I was so happy. First of all, when I learned that the king and Camilla were going to go to meet with President Trump and at the state and have this beautiful state dinner, I was so proud. I felt so much pride, and it turned out exactly the way I envisioned. It was beautiful, it was elegant, and it went very, very well. But when I learned that he's going to get to meet with Mamdani, I was nauseous a little bit. I said, maybe he's going to sway him, talk bad about Donald Trump, do bad things. So I'm very, very happy that he showed his true colors and there was no chemistry there. And I'm happy how it ended. Now he's going to go back, like you said, back to the White House. So what started out beautifully will end beautifully. And I'm glad it didn't work out with Mamdani. I really am.
I agree. I mean, because you're right. Who knows what he might have said if he was in front of him? Who knows? What he would have started bashing the NYPD, or who knows what he would have used at that moment. But what I found so interesting, because I was watching it, Sandra, and I was like, it was like he was non-existent. At first, you see Mayor Bloomberg, giving the show and tell and the tour, and he spent a lot of time and money with the 9/11 memorial. Bloomberg did. He was very involved in that. So it made sense that for sure that he was there. But then I kept thinking, well, where's Mamdani? And then he was on the rope line. You could barely see him. And you could just tell that it was like a flash in the pan for the king, that it was like, okay, let's just move on. I don't even know if he knew who he was. He certainly didn't really show anything different to him than, in fact, I think he spent less time with him than almost anybody else I saw in that line. So maybe he heard about the old Koh-i-Noor diamond and said, no, thanks. I'll pass on this piece of diamond. How's that? Sandra, thank you so much. And by the way, you guys, earlier today, you may have heard this, when I was on Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis, we were talking about John's conversation, because I was watching today, it was like this little flash in the pan conversation that Mamdani had. And again, maybe the king got word of him bashing British colonialism, which is always so nice when you come to someone's city to do that. So maybe that part of the reason why the king just didn't really care to spend too much time. It just seemed like it was like, okay, gotta go. Thanks. Nice to meet you, sir, whoever you are. It seemed very, just stunningly brief, and he was like shoved in the middle of the crowd. But not John Catsimatidis, our owner and operator of Red Apple Media. John came down and he was there, and he's also been a big part of the Memorial Garden, the beautiful Memorial Garden. There is Queen Elizabeth 9/11 Memorial Garden in New York City. And he and a number of others have been very big at carrying on that legacy there at that beautiful garden, which I encourage everybody to go to. And the king made his way to John Catsimatidis, and John had a great discussion with King Charles, which I love. I told John today, it needs to be the king and I. That's how he has to phrase it. He needs Yul Brynner back again for that one. But it was a beautiful conversation. Here's a little bit of John recounting it earlier today.
Well, the king is spending his day in New York City today, and he's got a busy schedule. Well, I got to meet him.
I was going to say, John, I can't wait to hear your conversation with King Charles.
I guess the mayor and the governor greeted him first.
Here's my assessment, my honest assessment. It looks like he spent a lot more time with you than he definitely spent with Mamdani.
I talked to him for about 3-4 minutes.
Oh, you definitely spent about 20 times more time than he spent with Mamdani.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see Mamdani at all.
Yeah, he was in the middle of the crowd. I was looking through the crowd, and suddenly I saw this little head, and I was like, okay, there's Governor Hochul. It looked like she talked to Camilla and to the king, and then about 2 people over was Mamdani, but it was like a flash in the pan. I was like, wait, is that Mamdani? And it definitely was.
A prominent figure there and spent a lot of time with the king was Mayor Bloomberg.
Yeah, because he built the 9/11 help with the memorial.
And don't forget, he was about... Oh, my God, there was about 50, 75, 100 people, and they had me in the front row. And the king and Bloomberg was the first one to greet him as he came through the tent, as he parked on the old Henry Hudson Parkway. That's my old expression.
Yeah.
and he came through the tent, and he greeted Bloomberg, and together they went down one road. We were all lined up the other road, and he turns around. I guess that's where he met the governor down the other end. Then he came down and greeted everybody.
And you got some good time with him. So what did he say to you? What did you say to him?
I said to him that King Constantine, which he was the king of Greece, and the Greeks get upset, the former king of Greece. Greece doesn't have a kingdom.
Who Who we went to Cuba with.
And we went to Cuba with him.
Yep.
And because of him, Castro built us a beautiful church in Cuba. And you were there with me.
I remember.
And his son, Prince Pablo, who's in our studio all the time.
Who we love.
His Royal Highness Prince Pablo. And he's the crown prince. I found out what the word crown prince means. That means he's next in line to be king.
Wow.
And his dad died, but his mother is the official queen now. God forbid his mother passes, then he's the king.
And they're related
That's
to
what
King
crown prince means.
And they're related to King Charles.
Don't forget, King Charles, and I talked to him about it, is half Greek because his father was Greek.
That's right.
And he's first cousins with our friend, His Royal Highness Prince Pablo, who's always in the studio with us.
How beautiful is it? So fill us in. So you talked with him about that. And what did you think of the king? What was your reaction?
By the way, I said it last night, I was very, very much impressed with the speech he gave last night, both in Congress, at the White House last night. And I think the whole purpose of his visit is because they have that socialist prime minister that really pissed off President Trump. I think the mission of King Charles was to come here and reiterate the bonding between the United States of America and the United Kingdom.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And he did a good job.
He did a great job.
The American people fell in love with him.
Yes.
And they loved him, and he spoke very well. So I think the person that should watch out is that prime minister. I don't remember his name.
Keir Starmer. I sadly remember his name. And sadly, I do remember his name, Keir Starmer. But boy, what a great moment for John to talk to the king. What a great moment for the king to talk to John Catsimatidis. It goes both ways. And what a wonderful thing to hear their conversation. Let's go to Joel in Florida, line 4. Go ahead, Joel.
Good evening, Rita. Nice to speak with you as always.
You too.
I just want to just bring up 2 points. I did work for WABC as an engineer long ago, and I currently work here in Central Florida also as an engineer. We've been getting, I'm a show host here in Orlando, and been getting about the last 6 weeks many calls from people specifically saying that they are in New York City and they want to know what areas of Florida they can relocate to. They really do want to get out of New York. So,
by the way, Joel, do you blame them? I'm telling you, what a mess. And now, what did you make really quick about the Koh-i-Noor diamond? You got about 10, 15 seconds.
Okay, I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted to deal basically with the Secret Service.
All right, hey, Joel, do you know what I'll do? You hold on. I got to go to a hard break. I'm going to carry you over because we'll talk about Secret Service right after the break with Joel and the rest of your calls.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go back to Joel in Florida. Joel, go ahead real quick. Get to the point about the Secret Service.
All right. Here's what it comes down to. We had Dan Bongino, Jonathan Gilliam, and the former head of the Secret Service on our air this morning, and I believe they were also on yours as well. They were saying that since the Secret Service is no longer under the control of the Treasury Department and is under the control of DHS, that Secret Service has gone both woke and DEI. And as a result, their standards have dropped tremendously. And because of that, any president, especially President Trump, is now in quite a bit more danger than he would have been if they were still under the Treasury Department.
I have heard that it has changed the control over it and also changed, quite frankly, more than anything, the funding, too. Because remember, with the whole thing with the Department of Homeland Security, with the shutdown, because the Democrats haven't funded it yet, remember, Secret Service is affected. The mainline people are not. Like, my understanding is they've gotten the funding for the mainline, the front people who are out there at the scene like they were at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But then there's a lot of people in the back office that are supporting those men and women out on the field, and they're not getting paid. So some of them are working extra jobs, trying to figure out how they're making ends meet. Apparently, a lot of them also, their credit cards are not covered. So they're putting like personal expenses on their credit card, all of that stuff. I mean, that's not a good thing after a certain point. And now it's been 70 plus days. All of that adds up. So there's a lot of, like you just said, there's some of the stuff with the DEI, and then there's a lot also with just the shutdown, the partial shutdown. I mean, this is crazy, Joel, and I'm sure you agree. You have to protect the president of the United States, especially this president who's had more threats than anybody in modern times.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?